Hi, Lady Esther here. Welcome back to my channel. My channel is about beauty, skincare, and deep thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about some books that I have read or am reading or will read. If you're interested in this, please stick around. Hi everybody, hope you're doing well. And at the suggestion of one of my viewers, subscribers, I decided to do this video on books that I'm reading or have read. Am reading, or will read. Okay, so let's get right into this and let's go over some that I have read. The first book, most of the books I like to listen to them on Audible, and so you can do other things while you're listening. So the first book I have in my library that I have read is called Quiet: The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. So I listened to this quite a while ago, and the audiobook is like 10 hours 39 minutes. Anyway, I'll read you the summary. At least 1/3 of the people we know are introverts. They are ones who prefer listening to speaking, reading to partying, who innovate and create but dislike self-promotion, who favor working on their own over brainstorming in teams. That's definitely me. Although they are often labeled quiet, it is to introverts that we owe many of the great contributions to society, from Van Gogh's sunflowers to the invention of the personal computer. Passionately argued, impressively researched, and filled with indelible stories of real people, Quiet shows how dramatically we undervalue introverts and how much we lose in doing so. Taking the reader on a journey from Dale Carnegie's birthplace to Harvard Business School, from a Tony Robbins seminar to an evangelical megachurch, Susan Cain charts the rise of the extrovert ideal in the 20th century and explores its far-reaching effects. She talks to Asian American students who feel alienated from the brash, back-slapping atmosphere of American schools. She questions the dominant values of American business culture where forced collaboration can stand in the way of innovation, and where the leadership potential of introverts is often overlooked, as she draws on cutting-edge research in psychology and neuroscience to reveal the surprising differences between extroverts and introverts. Perhaps most inspiring, she introduces us to successful introverts, from a witty, high-octane public speaker who recharges in solitude after his talks, to a record-breaking salesman who quietly taps into the power of questions. Finally, she offers invaluable advice on everything from how to better negotiate differences in the introvert-extrovert relationship, to how to empower an introverted child, to when it makes sense to be a pretend extrovert. This extraordinary book has the power to permanently change how we see introverts, and equally important, how introverts see themselves. So honestly, that kind of refreshes my memory, but overall I can't remember a lot of the content in this book, but I just want to tell you that if you're an introvert, you might like it, or even if you're not an introvert, if you're an extrovert, if you want to understand introverts a little bit more, maybe check out this book. I recommend this book. So I really enjoyed that, and I should probably listen to it again. But I have so many books in my queue to go over. I have a lot of material to go over, and just, a little amount of time to do that. Anyway, so that was book number 1. Anyway, I recommend The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine N. Aron, and The Highly Sensitive Person's Survival Guide. That one is a more it has practical stuff to help highly sensitive people. So let me go to The Highly Sensitive Person. So this one is by Elaine N. Aron, A-R-O-N, and I will read you a brief summary, hopefully. Okay, Elaine N. Lipman, PhD, is a world-renowned psychologist and speaker. The highly sensitive person is an in-depth look at characteristics that define sensitivity. Through self-assessment tests and techniques, Erin shows listeners how to identify their own personality traits. This is an exceptional book that can lead to remarkable results for many who suffer constant stress and anxiety. So I recommend this book to anybody who thinks they're sensitive. Sometimes it goes with introversion, sensitivity, some personality traits. I learned some more of this stuff in my psychology class, but I can't remember. I can't remember all of it right now. But so I listened to that one, and then the Survival Guide is a good companion book follow-up by this other author. I've always felt like a stranger in a land of extroverts who all seem to flourish in social situations, where I've always craved more intimate, low-key interactions. This book is a magnificent tool for anyone who feels marginalized due to their natural inclination towards the quiet life and is seeking ways to adapt their personality into a fast-paced society while still being true to who they really are. That's a really good comments on there, and this was, you can look at the highly sensitive person if you go to Audible and read the comments, and this is what this is the first comment, part of the first comment that a listener posted, which was really good. Another book I recommend is The Gift of Fear by Gavin D. Becker. Fear can save your life. It directs you to avoid that stranger, to leave the room, to call for help. The intuitive message of fear, together with rational principles, can help you to predict and thereby avoid personal violence. So in this program, Gavin D. Becker, America's leading expert on predicting violent behavior, demystifies the apparent random and unpredictable nature of violence and shows you how interpersonal violence can be detected and derailed. D. Becker's clients include celebrities, corporations, political organizations, and he serves as an advisor to the CIA and U.S. Supreme Court. So there's a little bit on that. And looking back over these books, wow, these are good books. I need to listen to them again. It's under the Great Courses, under Audible, only from Audible. And it's The Story of Human Language, The Great Courses, narrated by John McWhorter. Let me see. Who he is a linguist. Let's see. Here's the summary. Language defines us as a species, placing humans' heads and shoulders above even the most proficient animal communicators. But it also beguiles us with its endless mysteries, allowing us to ponder why different languages emerged, why there isn't simply a single language, how languages change over time, and whether that's good or bad, and how languages die out and become extinct. Now you can explore all these questions and more in an in-depth series of 36 lectures, this is really long, from one of America's leading linguists. You will be witnesses to the development of human language, learning how a single tongue spoken 1,500 years ago evolved into the estimated 6,000 languages used around the world today, and gaining an appreciation of the remarkable ways in which one language sheds light on another. The many fascinating topics you examine in these lectures include the intriguing evidence that links a specific gene to the ability to use language, the specific mechanisms responsible for language change, language families, and the heated debate over the first language, the phenomena of language mixture, why some languages develop more grammatical machinery than they actually need, the famous hypothesis that says our grammars channel how we think, artificial languages including Esperanto and sign language for the deaf, and how word histories reflect the phenomena of language change and mixture worldwide. So it's 18 hours and 15 minutes. I think I actually have a few lectures to go. So if you have, if you're bored and you have a lot of time on your hands, I recommend The Story of Language by John McWhorter. He's a very interesting person, and he's a really fun teacher. I really enjoyed this. Well, it's a course, but I'm calling it a book. Intuitive Eating, A Revolution Program That Works, by Evelyn Triboli, MSRD, and Elise Rech, MSRD, FADACEDRD. I don't know what all those letters mean, but anyway, they're like, I believe they're nutritionists, but so this one is like about almost 14 hours. Intuitive Eating is the on-the-go book rebuilding a healthy body image and making peace with food. We've all been there, angry with ourselves for overeating, for our lack of willpower, for failing at yet another diet. But the problem isn't us, it's that dieting with its strict rules keeps us from listening to our bodies. It's about like listening to your body when learning, when you're full, when you're hungry, when you're full, and not eating, basically not stuffing yourself, just learning where fullness is and not stuffing yourself. Written by 2 prominent nutritionists, Intuitive Eating will teach you how to reject diet mentality forever, how our 3 eating personalities define our eating difficulties, how to find satisfaction in your eating, how to feel your feelings without using food, how to honor hunger and feel fullness, how to follow the 10 principles of intuitive eating, how to achieve a new and safe relationship with food, ultimately your body, and more. This revised edition includes updates and expansions throughout, as well as 2 brand new chapters that will help readers integrate intuitive eating more fully into their daily lives. It's been a while since, I believe it talked about eating disorders and like a starvation study, something like that. So maybe some of you are already familiar with that, but I do recommend this book. But let me say, okay, so what I was gonna say about intuitive eating, which I was practicing at some point, where you get in touch with when you're hungry, and it's a more balanced approach. It's a healthy approach, but I just like overall though, if I would say that if you want to be a specific weight, I don't think that intuitive eating is gonna, I don't really think it's gonna help you be a specific weight. It's kind of like balancing and then kind of letting your body, kind of getting to the weight that your body seems to be more naturally comfortable with. And so I wouldn't really say it says it's a program, but I wouldn't really say it's a diet per se, because you're not calorie counting and restricting. You're just like, okay, I'm eating and I'm full and I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna talk briefly about 2 more books that I have on. I actually bought them. I have them on pre-order. The first one is by Dominique Sanchez. I don't know if I pronounced her last name right. It's called Life Makeover, Embrace the Bold, Beautiful, and Blessed You. She's a YouTuber now, but she was an Emmy Award-winning journalist who anchored Houston's evening news for almost 3 decades. Dominique Sanchez knows about the connection between external appearance and self-confidence. Through the years, she has garnered over 1 million followers on YouTube and appeared on the Today Show several times to share her wisdom and beauty and its ability to bolster inner worth. Writing to every woman who has found herself lost in a sea of other people's needs or drowning in endless responsibilities, Sanchez urges them to create space in their lives to discover or rediscover who they really are and to rekindle that fire within, inspiring them to take bold risks. Through personal stories, she shows how she has fought fear with faith and has chosen to express grace and class in all situations. Like a close friend, she also vulnerably describes her own mistakes and imperfections and explains how making over her outward appearance resulted in a happier, healthier version of herself emotionally, spiritually, physically. Filled with confidence-boosting wisdom about cultivating rest and life-giving hobbies, Touche also offers practical expert tips about hair, makeup, and fashion, all while encouraging and affirming women to live to their fullest. So that's a brief synopsis or the description from Amazon. Anyway, I bought it on Audible, but I can't. For some reason, won't let me read it. The description on Audible. So that sounds interesting. Enough Already, Learning to Love the Way I Am, and it's by Valerie Bertinelli. Beloved actress, Food Network personality, and New York Times bestselling author Valerie Bertinelli reflects on life at 60 and beyond. Behind the curtain of her happy on-screen persona, Valerie Bertinelli's life has been no easy ride, especially when it comes to her own self-image and self-worth. She waged war against herself for years, learning to equate her value to her appearance as a child on one day at a time and punishing herself in order to fit into the unachievable Hollywood mold. She struggled to make her marriage to Eddie Van Halen, the true love of her life, work despite all the rifts the rock star lifestyle created between them. She then watched her son follow in her father's footsteps right up onto the stage of Van Halen concerts and begin his own music career. And like so many women, she cared for her parents as their health declined, and she saw the roles of parent-child reverse. Through mourning the loss of her parents, discovering more about her family's past, and realizing how short life really is, and when she and her son lost Eddie, Valerie finally said enough already to a lifelong battle with the scale and found a new path forward to joy and connection despite hardships and pressures of the media industry to be something she's not. Valerie is at last accepting herself. She knows who she is and has discovered her self-worth and has learned how to prioritize her health and happiness over her weight. With an intimate look into her insecurities, heartbreaks, and losses, triumphs, and revelations, Enough Already is the story of Valerie's sometimes humorous, sometimes raw, but always honest journey to love herself and find joy in the everyday, in family, and in the food and memories we share. It sounds like there's a little bit of a juxtaposition between Dominique's book and Valerie's book, but they both sound interesting, and I'm excited to listen to them and hear what they have to say. Maybe some of these books you might be interested in. Hopefully we can start a dialogue or discussion in the comments box below. One book I highly recommend is one of my favorite books, is Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Boundaries, I highly recommend that book, and there's lots of series of boundaries books if anybody's interested in learning how to have better boundaries. Everybody should have good boundaries because it makes your life better. Anyway, so I recommend Boundaries. And the last one is, I think I have a video where I think I talked about boundaries in this book. But this is Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. He was in the Moonies. Anyway, so he was in a cult, and so this has a lot of good information if to prevent getting in a cult, if you're in a cult. But maybe if you're in a cult, you wouldn't read this. Anyway, I was gonna flip to the contents. Let me just read a couple of the chapter titles. My Work as a Cult Expert, that's number 1. My Life in the Unification Church, that's the Moonies. The Threat, Mind Control Today, Understanding Mind Control, Cult Psychology, Courageous Survival Stories, How to Protect Yourself and People You Care About, Curing the Mind Control Virus, How to Help, Unlocking Mind Control, Strategies for Recovery, Next Steps, and here's an appendix that's pretty good. Lifton's 8 criteria of mind control. So if you're interested in learning, cults are kind of an interesting topic. If you're interested in learning more, I recommend this book too. Anyway, I hope you guys find this interesting and helpful. If you did, please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to hit the bell button to be reminded of new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.